Story 1. The Magic Trick at Pump 4. I moved back into my parents' house just outside of Seattle about 6 months ago. It wasn't my first choice. I'm 24, and living in your childhood bedroom after a bad breakup feels like a massive regression. But rent in the city is impossible, and I needed to save money. I work as an MRI technician at a 24-hour imaging center. My shifts are usually graveyard, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I actually like the quiet, but the drive home through the misty, tree-lined roads of the Pacific Northwest can be eerie. It was a Tuesday morning, around 4:15 a.m. I was running on fumes and caffeine. My low fuel light dinged, so I pulled into a 24-hour Chevron station about 10 minutes from my parents' house. It's one of those massive stations with 20 pumps, but at that hour, it was a ghost town. Just the hum of the fluorescent lights and the drizzle of rain. I parked at Pump 4, furthest from the store. As I was swiping my card, a beat-up blue sedan rolled into the lot. It didn't park at a pump. It pulled up alongside the air compressor station, about 30 feet away. A guy got out. He looked normal enough. Jeans, a flannel shirt, maybe late 30s. But he wasn't airing up his tires. He was watching me. I locked the nozzle to fill automatically and leaned against my car, scrolling on my phone to avoid eye contact. "Hey!" a voice called out. I looked up. The guy was standing right at the edge of his car's hood. He wasn't aggressive. He was smiling, holding a deck of cards. "Want to see something cool?" he asked. "I'm good," I said, turning back to my phone. "Come on," he pressed, taking a few steps closer. "Just one trick. Pick a card, any card. It'll blow your mind." He started shuffling the deck with one hand. It was impressive, almost hypnotic. The cards danced between his fingers. "Look," he said, holding up the Queen of Hearts. "Is this your card?" I hadn't picked a card. The whole interaction felt rehearsed, like a street performer act, but way too intense for 4 a.m. in an empty gas station. "Dude, leave me alone," I said sharply. The smile dropped from his face instantly. It was like a mask slipping. He stared at me for a second, his eyes dead and cold. Then he shrugged. "Suit yourself," he muttered. He turned and walked back to his car. I waited until my tank was full, hung up the nozzle, and jumped into my driver's seat. I locked the doors immediately. As I drove away, I checked my rearview mirror. His car was still there, idling by the air compressor. He wasn't following me. Or so I thought. I drove the winding back roads to my parents' house. It was pitch black, no street lights. I didn't see any headlights behind me the entire way. When I got home, I used the hidden spare key, a fake rock my dad keeps in the flower pot by the front door, to let myself in. I tossed the rock back into the pot, locked the deadbolt, and went straight to the kitchen to make a sandwich. The house was silent. My parents were asleep upstairs. I was standing at the kitchen island, taking a bite of my turkey sandwich, when I heard it. Click. The sound of the front door unlocking. I froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. I looked at the clock on the microwave. 4:45 a.m. My dad doesn't get up until 6. Then, the door creaked open and clicked shut. Soft footsteps padded into the foyer. "Dad?" I called out, my voice trembling. No answer. I grabbed a steak knife from the block and crept toward the hallway. The foyer was empty, but the front door was unlocked. Panic surged through me. I ran up the stairs, skipping steps, and burst into my parents' bedroom. "Wake up!" I screamed. "Someone is in the house!" My dad sat up, confused and groggy. What?
Someone just unlocked the front door. The key is gone.
My dad grabbed his baseball bat from the closet. We went downstairs together, flipping on every light switch. My mom stayed upstairs to call 911. We checked the living room. Empty. We checked the den. Empty. Then we walked into the dining room. The room was dark, illuminated only by the light spilling in from the kitchen. My dad scanned the room. There's no one here, honey. Maybe you just didn't lock it tight. I looked down. Protruding from underneath the long tablecloth of our dining table was a pair of boots. Work boots. Muddy work boots. I pointed, my throat too tight to scream. My dad saw them. He didn't hesitate. He flipped the table over with a roar. Crouched underneath, holding a deck of cards, was the man from the gas station. He wasn't smiling anymore. He looked feral. He lunged at my dad. My dad swung the bat, connecting with the guy's shoulder with a sickening crack. The man yelled, stumbling back into the china cabinet. Glass shattered everywhere. I threw the steak knife at him. I missed, but it stuck into the wall next to his head, startling him. He realized he was outnumbered. He scrambled for the front door, unlocked it with our spare key that he still had in his hand, and bolted into the night. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They found tire tracks in the mud down the street. He had driven with his lights off, following me from a distance, watching where I retrieved the key. He wanted to get in. He wanted to wait. And the scariest part, when the police searched the dining room, they found a single playing card left on the chair where my dad usually sits. The Queen of Hearts. He had placed it there while I was making my sandwich. He had been in the house, watching me eat, minutes before I heard him enter. He hadn't just walked in. He had walked in, hidden, and then locked the door behind him to toy with me. We changed the locks the next day. I moved out a week later. I don't care about the rent prices anymore. I'd rather be broke than ever feel that kind of violation again. Story 2. The Dead Battery at Exit 41. I love night driving. There's something meditative about it, especially out west where the highways stretch on forever. I was driving from San Diego to Phoenix to visit my brother for a month. It's a straight shot across I-8, cutting through the brutal emptiness of the Mojave Desert and the Imperial Sand Dunes. I left at 2 a.m. to beat the heat and the traffic. My car, a 2018 Honda Civic, was packed to the brim with everything I owned. Clothes, my expensive gaming PC, my guitar collection. I was basically moving my life across state lines. Around 4:15 a.m., the coffee started to wear off. My bladder was screaming and my legs were cramping. I saw a sign for a rest area gas at exit 41. It wasn't a major truck stop like a Love's or a Pilot. It was one of those desolate, single-building stations in the middle of the scrubland. I pulled off the highway. The station was dark. The main sign was busted, and the convenience store windows were barred shut. It looked closed, but the pumps had card readers, so I figured I could at least stretch my legs and pee behind the building. I parked under a flickering halogen light. There was only one other car in the massive, cracked asphalt lot, a beat-up, dust-covered silver sedan parked in the far corner near the edge of the desert darkness. I got out, did my business behind a dumpster, and walked back to my car. That's when I heard the door of the silver sedan creak open. A man stepped out. He was Latino, maybe mid-40s, wearing a dirty tank top and jeans. He waved at me. "Hey, amigo!" he called out. He sounded desperate. "Do you speak English?" I hesitated. I was a lone guy in the middle of the desert. But he put his hands up in a surrendering gesture. "My battery is dead," he said, walking slowly toward me. "Please, I've been stuck here for 3 hours. No one stops. My wife is in the car. She's pregnant. We just need a jump." He pointed to the silver car. I couldn't see anyone inside through the tinted windows, but the pregnant wife line tugged at my conscience. I'm a believer in karma. If I left them stranded, I felt like the universe would make my engine explode 10 miles down the road. "Do you have cables?" I asked, keeping my hand near my pocket knife. Yes, in the trunk." He smiled, looking relieved. I sighed. "All right, I'll pull around." I got back in my car and drove over, parking nose to nose with his sedan. I popped my hood. He popped his. He fumbled with the cables, hooking them up. I watched him like a hawk. He seemed genuine enough, thanking me profusely. "Okay, start your car," I shouted over the hum of my engine. He got in the driver's seat and turned the key. Click, click, click. Nothing. The engine didn't even try to turn over. "Give it a minute," I said. "Let it charge." We waited. The desert silence was heavy. The wind whistled through the dead sagebrush. He tried again. Click. "It's not working," he muttered. He looked at me, his eyes shifting nervously. "Let me call my cousin. He is a mechanic. Maybe I am doing it wrong." He pulled out a burner phone and walked away from the cars, speaking rapidly in Spanish. I understand a little Spanish from growing up in SoCal. He wasn't asking about mechanics. I heard him say, "Ya está aquí. Tráelo. Ahora. He's here. Bring it. Now." My stomach dropped. That wasn't mechanic talk. I looked at his car again. I squinted at the windshield. There was no inspection sticker. And looking closely at the grille, there was no radiator behind it. The car was a shell. It wasn't broken down. It was incapable of running. It was a prop. I reached for my jumper cables to disconnect them. Suddenly, the roar of engines shattered the silence. 2 massive pickup trucks, old Fords with matte black paint jobs and no headlights, came tearing around the back of the gas station building. They didn't come from the highway. They had been hiding behind the structure. They screeched to a halt directly behind my car, blocking me in. "Oh shit," I whispered. I didn't have time to disconnect the cables. I slammed my hood shut, leaving the cables dangling, and jumped into my driver's seat. I hit the lock button. The man who asked for help wasn't acting desperate anymore. He was smiling, a cruel, predatory grin. He reached into his waistband and pulled out a tire iron. 3 men jumped out of the pickup trucks. They were wearing bandanas over their faces and holding baseball bats. They started smashing my windows. Smash! The rear windshield shattered. Crunch! A bat dented my driver's side door. They weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to scare me out of the car so they could take everything. I made a split-second decision. I couldn't drive away. I was boxed in by the sedan in front and the trucks behind. If I stayed in the car, they would drag me out and beat me to a pulp. I grabbed my keys and my phone. I kicked my door open, slamming it into the guy with the tire iron, knocking him off balance. I bolted. I didn't run toward the highway. I ran straight into the desert. I sprinted through the darkness, jumping over cactus and rocks, my lungs burning. Behind me, I heard shouting in Spanish and the sound of boots crunching on gravel. They were chasing me. I ran until my legs gave out. I dove into a dry wash, a ravine, about a quarter mile from the station, and buried myself under a tumbleweed. I lay there, shaking, trying to silence my breathing. I could see the flashlight beams of the men sweeping the desert floor. They were hunting. "Come out, gringo," one of them yelled. "We just want the keys." I didn't move. I dialed 911, shielding the light of my phone with my jacket. I whispered my location to the operator. The men searched for maybe 10 minutes. Then, I heard a car alarm go off. My car. They had smashed the rest of the windows. I watched from the distance as they systematically stripped my car. They took the suitcases. They took the PC. They took the guitars. They formed a bucket line, tossing my life's possessions into the beds of their pickup trucks. Then they hopped in their trucks and sped off onto the highway, leaving the bait sedan behind. I waited another 20 minutes before walking back. When the Arizona Highway Patrol arrived, my car was a skeleton. Glass everywhere, the interior ripped apart. The officer examined the silver sedan. "No engine," he confirmed, popping the hood. "Just a battery, sitting on a wooden block to power the radio lights. It's a trap car. We've seen this crew working exit 41 before. They ran the VIN, stolen from Vegas 2 months ago. I lost about $8,000 worth of stuff that night. But as I looked at the tire iron lying on the ground next to my driver's door, I realized I was lucky. If I had stayed in that car 1 second longer, they wouldn't have just taken my stuff. They would have taken me. I flew the rest of the way to Phoenix. I don't drive at night anymore. And I don't care who you are. If your car is broken down on the side of the road, I'm not stopping. Story 3. The twin rest stops on I-10. If you've ever driven the stretch of Interstate 10 that cuts through the Louisiana swamps, you know exactly the kind of darkness I'm talking about. It's not just a lack of light. It's a heavy, humid blackness that swallows your headlights. The trees are draped in Spanish moss that looks like hanging rags, and the only thing outside your window is miles of black water. I was driving from Houston to New Orleans for a gig. I'm a drummer, and I was hauling my kit in an old beat-up Ford Econoline van. It was about 2:30 a.m. I had been chugging energy drinks to stay awake, which inevitably led to a desperate need to use the bathroom. I passed a sign for a rest area, 1 mile. I usually have a rule. I only stop at the big travel centers, Love's, Buc-ee's, places with bright lights and people. But out here in the basin, there was nothing. Just these old, state-run rest stops built in the 70s. I pulled off the highway. The rest area was a concrete slab surrounded by dense forest. The streetlights were flickering, casting that sickly yellow sodium glow. There were no semi-trucks, which is always a bad sign. Just one other vehicle, a rusted dark green pickup truck parked way in the back, near the tree line. I parked as close to the building as I could. I left the van running, a habit I have, and locked the door. The restroom building was concrete, open air at the top for ventilation, which meant it smelled like swamp water and bleach. I walked in. It was dead silent, except for the buzzing of a dying fluorescent bulb. That's when I saw him. There was a man standing in the far corner of the restroom. He wasn't using a urinal. He wasn't at the sink. He was standing perfectly still, facing the corner where the 2 tiled walls met. His forehead was pressed against the grout. He was wearing dirty coveralls and heavy work boots. I froze. Every instinct in my body screamed predator. I should have turned around, but the pressure in my bladder was painful. I convinced myself he was just some drunk local trying to sober up. I walked past him, keeping as much distance as possible, and went into the handicap stall at the end. I locked the door. It was so quiet I could hear the man breathing. It was a wet, rattling sound. I finished as fast as I could. I didn't even wash my hands. I just wanted to get out. As I exited the stall, I glanced at the corner. He had turned around. He was still in the same spot, but now he was facing me. He had a thick, unkempt beard and eyes that looked wrong. Too wide, unblinking. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me. I didn't say a word. I rushed out, sprinted to my van, and peeled out of the parking lot. I watched the rearview mirror until the yellow lights of the rest stop faded. I drove for about 20 minutes, my heart finally slowing down. I turned up the radio, trying to shake the creepy vibe, but thanks to the energy drinks, my bladder wasn't done with me. The urge hit again, worse than before. I saw another sign. Rest area, 1 mile. It was the next one down the line. I figured, what are the odds? It's 20 miles away. That creep is back at the first one. I pulled in. This rest stop looked identical to the first one. Same brutalist concrete architecture, same flickering yellow lights. And thankfully, it was completely empty. No green pickup truck. I parked, grabbed a tire iron from under my seat, just in case, and ran inside. I checked the corners first. Empty. I checked the stalls. Empty. Relieved, I went into the middle stall and latched the door. I was in there for maybe 30 seconds when I heard it. Thud. 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 Heavy work boots walking on concrete. They didn't come from the entrance. They came from the back of the restroom. Maybe from a maintenance closet I hadn't noticed? Or maybe he had walked in so quietly I didn't hear him until he was close. The footsteps were slow, deliberate. They walked past the sinks, past the urinals, and they stopped directly in front of my stall door. I looked down at the gap beneath the door. I saw the boots. Muddy, steel-toed work boots. The same boots from the man 20 miles back. My breath hitched. How? I had been doing 80 miles per hour. There was no way that green pickup truck passed me without me seeing it. The man didn't try to open the door. He just stood there. Then, he started to hum. A low, vibrating hum that echoed off the tile walls. It was the same rattling breath I had heard earlier. I realized with horror that he wasn't there to use the bathroom. He was there for me. I pulled out my phone. I didn't text. I dialed 911 and put it on speakerphone, holding it up high. 911, what is your emergency? The operator's voice rang out loud and clear in the silent bathroom. I am at the I-10 westbound rest stop, I shouted, making my voice as deep and aggressive as I could. There is a man cornering me in the bathroom. I have a weapon, and I will use it. The boots didn't move for a second. Then, slowly, they turned. He walked away, not running, just a slow, heavy stroll out of the bathroom.
Sir, stay on the line, the operator said. Troopers are nearby.
I waited in that stall for 10 minutes, until I heard a police radio squawk outside. When the Louisiana State Trooper knocked on the stall door, I nearly collapsed with relief. We walked out to the parking lot. My van was the only vehicle there. The green truck was nowhere to be seen. I told the trooper about the first rest stop, the man facing the corner, and how he appeared here. He must have followed me, I said, shaking. But I didn't see headlights. The trooper frowned. He walked over to my van, He shined his flashlight into the back windows. It was filled with my drum cases and equipment, piled high. "Is your back door unlocked?" the trooper asked. "No, I always lock it." The trooper tried the handle. It opened. He shined his light into the small crawl space between my drum kit and the back doors. There, on the floor of my van, was a fresh, muddy boot print and a crumpled fast food wrapper that wasn't mine. The blood drained from my face. The man hadn't followed me in his truck. At the first rest stop, while I was inside being creeped out by him standing in the corner, there must have been 2 of them. Or he circled back. He had picked the lock on my back door while I was inside. He was hiding in the back of my van the whole time I was driving. When I ran into the second rest stop, he must have slipped out of the back of my van and followed me in. The trooper searched the woods, but the man was gone. He had vanished into the swamp. I sold that van. I couldn't drive it anymore, knowing that I had transported my own stalker for 20 miles, listening to the radio, totally oblivious to the monster breathing right behind me.